Hi, I'm here to rank Wolverine's roles in the X-Men films. I really like Wolverine. I love Hugh Jackman's performance as Wolverine. I do think that Wolverine got too much focus in some of the films, but I do think he is a really good character, and I do think he is a good choice to lead some films. I do wish that Wolverine could have given some of the spotlight to other characters in some instances in more impactful ways, but there is a lot of good Wolverine stuff. In 10th place is Logan, and I think that having Logan in last place is a huge hot take, but Logan was a huge disappointment for me. Wolverine is a very serious character that has gone through a lot of tragic things. He does feel like a character that is a really fun action character, a guy that can be a great leading man for action films and can be a lot of fun to watch, even if he doesn't seem like a super humorous character. And Logan is the type of film that I don't want to see Wolverine in. It's not the type of film that I want to see in general. I think it's a depressing, unpleasant film that really doesn't work, that doesn't feel like a superhero film. It feels like a boring, depressing, uninteresting film that at times feels miserable to watch, and I really don't like it, and I don't like Wolverine's role in it very much. Just terrible send off for Wolverine, in my opinion. Doesn't work. In ninth place is Wolverine's cameo in X Men First Class. Very quick scene, but a really funny cameo. Not much more to talk about beyond that, but I do think it really works in the film. In eighth place is Wolverine's appearance in X Men Apocalypse. He is around longer than he is in X Men First Class, so that is cool. He gets to be in the action. Uh, his role doesn't feel the most necessary to the film, but at least he got a lot of cool action stuff to do. In seventh place is Wolverine's role in Deadpool and Wolverine. I feel like Wolverine helps carry a lot of the scenes in the film because I don't like Deadpool. I think that he's really annoying in the film. I think that the film is really hard to watch before Wolverine shows up. Wolverine does have a good character arc in the film. Um, it's more depressing, less likable Wolverine than before, but he is able to get some fun moments. It's great to have Hugh Jackman in the Wolverine costume. There is a lot of fun stuff. And if he was in a film that was more focused on X-Men stuff and less so Deadpool stuff, it probably could have been even better for him. In sixth place is Wolverine's role in the first X-Men film, which I think is a good introduction to Wolverine. He helps Rogue out. He gets to be somebody we can follow and see how he feels about the X-Men. And it feels like Wolverine's character is not fully explored yet, but it's a good way to start things off. And I do enjoy him in the film. In fifth place is Wolverine's role in X Men The Last Stand, which is a film that I think didn't need to have Wolverine be the lead character. It felt like it should have finally been Cyclops' time to step up. I feel like it should have been focused on Jean Grey and Cyclops. It's very Wolverine centric. What's done with Cyclops is very disappointing. Even though I think Wolverine wasn't the best choice to lead The Last Stand, he is still a good lead, and I think he fits the tone. He has a lot of really good moments in it. He's a good, fun protagonist, and he has a fantastic scene towards the end of the film. His last interaction with Jean Grey was amazingly done. So there is a lot of good stuff in the film, even though it felt like by that point the films were becoming too Wolverine centric. In fourth place is Wolverine's role in The Wolverine, which I think is a really good character study for Wolverine. It's not a film that I think about as much as a lot of other films in the franchise because there aren't that many other X-Men characters in it. When it comes to just analyzing Wolverine, exploring his morality, his guilt, his powers, and various aspects of the character, I do think it really works for him. And did Wolverine need a second solo film? I don't necessarily think so, but his character arc in it and how he's analyzed and what he goes through is good enough that I actually am glad that he got it, because I do think he is really good in the film. In third place is Wolverine's role in X-Men Origins Wolverine. I feel like I really need to explain this because X-Men Origins Wolverine seems to be a lot of people's least favorite film in the franchise. X-Men Origins Wolverine just feels like a really fun action film. A film that I feel like I can turn on, have some fun with. It feels like a big blockbuster sort of film with exciting action, a really cool lead character that fights a bunch of villains, goes on an adventure. It's a character that is somewhat of an anti-hero, but he has a lot of really likable moments, and he's just a lot of fun to watch. And I get that it's not the most sophisticated plot, that his storyline and a lot of details don't fully match up with other stuff, and there's a lot to complain about, but on a pure enjoyment level, it feels like classic definitive Wolverine to me, and I really enjoy it. In second place is Wolverine's role in X2. I feel like X2 has the best uh, focus on Wolverine the trilogy. I feel like the first X-Men film and the third X-Men film didn't need to be centered around Wolverine, even though he does lead the films well. Wolverine being the lead of X2 really does make sense to me, because of William Stryker and what Stryker's doing, Wolverine's backstory with him, his connection to him. It really helps feel like Wolverine is incredibly important to the plot, that having him be the focus actually does elevate things rather than feels like a distraction or just something forced because Wolverine's so popular. And Wolverine does really grow as a character. He feels much more developed than he did in the first film. It felt like an upgrade for his character. And he does feel like somebody that really cares about others, and they found a really cool way to have Wolverine be really scary and intense while still being sympathetic, where he is going after a bunch of guys, but because they were going after kids and putting their lives in danger. So it's a situation where Wolverine could have handled things in a more peaceful way for sure, but at the very least, it's not just Wolverine being ooh, cool, edgy anti-hero. It felt like it came from a character place, and it's really interesting, and it really works for his character. And I really like Wolverine's character arc. He's distracted by Stryker, trying to think about his past, but towards the end of the film, he gets a chance to learn more about his past, and instead, he goes off with the X-Men. He's found his place, and he's gonna be a hero. And all that is great. And it was hard to choose between 2 and 1, but I do have one problem with Wolverine in the film. And it's how he acts towards Jean Grey in regards to their sort of dynamic, where Jean Grey and Cyclops are in a relationship. Because of how it's kind of vague about a lot of things, it's hard to tell if Jean Grey and Cyclops are married or if they're dating, but at the very least, they're in a big relationship. And Wolverine is really getting in the way of that and really seems to be okay with trying to pressure Jean Grey to leave Cyclops and get together with him, and doing it while Jean Grey is dealing with a lot of stuff in her life while they're on this big mission. It doesn't really feel like Wolverine is as sympathetic in those scenes as he is in the rest of the film. And so that's my one problem with Wolverine. Aside from that, he is characterized great in the film. In first place is Wolverine's role in X-Men Days of Future Past, which feels like the film that has Wolverine getting the amount of screen time and attention that I would typically want him to have in X-Men films, and what I hope he has if he shows up in future X-Men films, where he is one of the most focused characters. He has a lot of screen time, he gets to shine, he's definitely important, but he's arguably not the overall main focus, and there are definitely characters that are incredibly important and get a lot to do. It's arguably more about Professor X than Wolverine. It's incredibly focused on Professor X, Magneto, and Mystique, so it's not just Wolverine's film. And Wolverine gets to be in a different sort of role, and it's really interesting to see after all he's gone through, where instead of Professor X mentoring him, he has to mentor Professor X. He has to be more vulnerable, more patient and kind. And I love him being there to comfort Professor X, where Professor X is willing to give things a try. Wolverine is there to support him. It's great stuff, and Wolverine gets to feel at his most likable in the film, and I love subtle things where it feels like the one problem I had with X2, it feels like Wolverine's gone past that, where he sees not only Jean Grey's alive, but Cyclops is alive, and Wolverine actually gives him a friendly greeting. It feels like he's finally getting past his pettiness, and that's great. I think it's wonderful for Wolverine, so his role in Days of Future Past is my number one.